President, I move that we assume consideration of Senate Bill number 2239. So move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of 2239 is in order.
This is the on the communication, the packaging, distribution of vapor products and heated tobacco products. I believe Senator Ralph Recto wishes to be recognized.
Senator Ralph Recto, the President Pro Tem, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm ready to accept any interpolations, but I think that all the questions have been raised and we've answered all these questions. We are ready to present our committee amendments, but there is an understanding that we will present this after we pass the budget. So my request to the body is that we close the period of interpolations, if that would be possible. Yes.
Nasa listahan. We recognize Senator Cayetano.
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Mr. President, for the information of the gentleman, I entered the floor thinking that it's time for the sponsorship. I think our colleague saw me in the corner preparing my speech for the sponsorship of the budget. I don't think it's so difficult, Mr. President, to understand that we need to prioritize the budget. Yesterday, the good majority floor leader messaged me if I would be ready. And I said that Senator Recto called me to propose some provisions which are contentious. So I said, I'm discussing that with him. Obviously, if we can move forward with those proposals, then I can shorten my period of interpellation. I probably can just make a statement. But without that, I cannot proceed without the proposals because it is my law, the syntax law, that this honorable body passed. And key provisions in the syntax law, including the jurisdiction of the FDA, the age of use and access of users of 21 years old, and the number of flavors are sought to be amended in this bill. It is a time of COVID, pandemic. Ang COVID, baga, lungs. Ang tobacco and tobacco-related products and vapes, lungs din ang tama nun. So, let's take due time and discuss this. Is the sale prevented? It's not. Can those 21 years old and above access it? They can. So we are not preventing the industry from selling at this time. But don't rush this representation when there are valid issues to be settled. If you want to continue after the budget, even though with due respect to my chairman, I wanted to talk to him to find out what among the proposals I submitted in the Committee on Health and Committee on Education were carried because I don't know them yet. Is that the wish of the body that I set aside the time that I had meant to spend on the budget for this, for a tobacco bill? If that is your wish, I will comply. I have always been known to be a team player in the Senate. I have never delayed a bill. Never. I have prepared diligently for every interpellation that I have signed up for. So if this is the priority over the budget, then tell me. And let's tell the Filipino people na inuuna natin ang tobacco bill bago ang budget. That is my humble submission, Mr. President and dear colleagues.
Mr. President, before we allow Senator Recto to react, the agenda is placed every day in this session hall. This full transparency. We follow an order. In the order, these bills are placed ahead. Sponsorship is in the last page, Mr. President. With due respect to my office, the office of the Majority Floor Leader and the Chairman of the Committee on Rules, nothing is being railroaded here. As a matter of fact, we can complain that this bill is being stopped because everything else prior to the break, we had closed the period of interpellation. It is only closing the period of interpellation, Mr. President, without prejudice during the period of amendment, asking questions and clarificatory questions. But that is legislation, Mr. President. We interpellate, we sponsor, we interpellate, we close the period of interpellation, we move forward to amendments. I believe the lady senator has been discussing with the office of Senator Ralph proposed amendments. So if they were discussing proposed amendments, why don't we close the period of interpellation and already direct it to the period of amendments where they can discuss thoroughly and we will vote on it.
Which you do not plan to do today.
We don't plan to do it today,
You
Mr.
plan to
President.
do it after we pass the budget.
We plan to do all these discussions after the passage of the budget. My point lang being, Mr. President, is eventually, it is a collegial body. We will decide whether we'll take this up or not. We will approve this or not as a collegial body. That is the point that I'm trying to make. And this, for the record, is the only bill left since the break that has not closed the period of interpellation. Even the controversial bill of Senator Joel, I'd say controversial because, it's about the Department of OFWs, where some departments were against in its creation. It's now in the period of amendments. Pati yung PSA, Mr. President, na napaka-contentious, is already in the period of amendments. Di ba po? If one person here, Mr. President, is against a particular measure, we will not stop them from saying so, from fighting for what they believe in, for their advocacies. But at the end of the day, if it is in the floor, it is my duty to see this through, whether we vote for it or against it. That's my point, Mr. President. So, with due respect to the lady senator from Taguig, it's in the calendar. It is right before the sponsorship of the budget. After we tackle this measure and it is disposed properly, which whatever the body would want it to be disposed, we will now proceed with the budget. So hindi po natin fina-fast track to. As a matter of fact, this bill has been languishing already for 4 months, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 months in the floor. So with due respect, no, I'm not fighting in favor of this bill. I'm just fighting for every bill that's on my calendar as a priority.
Mr.
Senator
President.
Recto, don't you want the President pro tem to respond first to?
Thank you, Mr. President. My only response is that I am following the calendar as manifested by the majority leader. And all we're requesting is to close the period of interpellation. And we are reaching out to all the interpellators of this measure. And our amendments, in fact, are in relation to the interpellations. And that is the procedure, that is the process. And at the appropriate time, we will present those amendments. Now, we are doing backdoor discussions also. The idea is to get as many inputs as possible in the bill as well, Mr. President. No, so we are bending backwards. But like I said, at the appropriate time, we will present these amendments based on the interpolations in the floor.
Mr. President, may I respond?
Go ahead.
Thank you for that, dear colleagues. Senator Zubiri, our majority floor leader, and Senator Ralph, our Senate President pro temp and the sponsor of this measure. With all due respect, dear colleagues, ilang beses po ba ako nag-interpellate? Isang beses. At kung makasalita naman po kayo, para namang I hugged the floor. Para naman I took the floor 3 times for 2 hours. It was roughly a 1-hour interpellation. I was not finished yet. It is my bill, a bill that this collegial body passed. Siguro naman, you can give me more than 1 session to interpellate. And please take note, majority floor leader, with all due respect, maganda naman ang communication natin. I am not attributing malice to our communication. You texted me, sabi mo pa sa akin, my dear, ganyan din ako sumagot sa'yo. I don't attribute malice. I'm just laying down the facts. I apologize, hindi ko nakita yung agenda. Kasi, yung ulo ko nakasubsob. Dun sa Senate sponsorship, pasensya na po. Pero I write my own sponsorship speech. So nakasubsob ang noo ko to prepare that. I apologize, I did not see that. But you make it appear as if I've been delayed. Majority floor leader, sir, you will recall. You told me in the last week of session, Pia, let's try to end this interpellation. Sabi ko, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I mean it. Look at my record. Yun lang sinasabi ko. I stand by my record. Delay ba ako ever? I take offense that you make it appear I'm hogging, languishing for 4 months. Come on. Many of you have defended your bills for a year, for 18 months, 24 months. And a tobacco bill is pending for 4 months?
And you accuse me of delaying, and I have interpolated once, and you are amending a major bill of this Senate, of this Congress? Wag naman. Maayos naman ako kausap. On the week that Your Honor, Majority Floor Leader told me na let's try to finish this, I was available every day. I could not be physically present, but does not prevent me, and that does not prevent any of our colleagues from participating. I was not physically present as I tried to be, as the no less than the Senate President knows, because I have told him this. I will try to be present every time I defend because I want my physical presence felt. I could not go because panahon ng Delta. Delta yun. Hindi vaccinated ang 11-year-old anak. So I was ready. And you know what, Majority Floor Leader? You never even told me na hindi pala available si Senator Recto. Na nag-leave pala siya, and I even messaged him, I hope he gets better. Nag-leave pala siya kasi meron siyang stomach problems. Nag-aantay ako dun. Available naman ako. Hindi niyo naman sinabi sa akin na, o Pia, pahinga ka muna, hindi pa pala ikaw. Listo ako, prepare ako ng prepare. Alam niyo naman, prepared ako mag-attend ng mga debates ko. I didn't complain na, ba't mo naman ako pinag-antay? Binasa niyo na lang po sa floor na hindi tuloy ang vapes. Pero ready ako. Tinext ko lang po kayo, Majority Floor Leader, na ready ako ha. Tapos sabi niyo, oo nga kasi masama pakiramdam ni Ralph. Oh, tapos ngayon sasabihin niyo na languishing with me, na one senator is holding it up? I submit to the wishes of my colleagues. If you believe that I do not have a right anymore to interpolate and to spread on the records, as no less than the sponsor has said that he is willing to hear my concerns about the vape bill, then I submit. Huwag niyo na akong pa-interpolate. To close it and to continue during amendment, no problem din ako dyan. Pero, it is the period of amendment. Hindi pa narinig nung ibang mag-a-amend yung mga concerns ko that I would be raising sa interpellation. So concerned ako doon. And I would like to believe that our colleagues who voted with me to get at least 3 major provisions in the syntax law on the jurisdiction of the FDA, on the age of 21 for the use of vapes and e-cigs, and the limited flavors so that hindi na-engganyo yung youth. If they're going to change their vote on that, I would like to believe that they would like to hear my reasons. I would like to believe that the respect that they gave me as the chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means is the same respect that they give me as an interpolator of this bill that seeks to amend that bill that is now a law. And if my colleagues are tired of my voice and no longer want to hear my interpellation, then so be it. I submit. Thank you, Mr. President. I have said my piece. I continue to work with His Honor, the Senate President Pro Temp. I simply stated that, and I messaged the Majority Floor Leader, I was not aware that anything changed, that we are in discussions. Because, and I said, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, sabi niyo on the floor, nag-uusap na pala kayo ng amendment, eh, ba't hindi pwedeng i-close? Because I said to you, Your Honor, if hindi kami magkasundo sa proposed language, then I have to continue my interpellation. Because hindi pala niya tatanggapin, ahead of time, alam ko nang hindi niya tatanggapin yung amendment ko. E di itutuloy ko yung interpellation in the hope that my colleagues would listen to me and support my position that we do not amend and do not reverse the provisions in the syntax law. That is all I was trying to do, Mr. President, not delay in any way. I stand by my record. I have never filibustered. I have never sought to delay, and I am insulted that anyone insinuates that of me.
Well, Mr. President,
Right.
I apologize if the lady senator thinks of it that way.
I do, because that is what His Honor has said on record very clearly, that it's languishing because of one senator. Once lang po ako nag-interpellate. Once.
First of all, Mr. President, I'd like to put for the record, the good gentleman from the Batangas is the chairperson of that committee. He requested me to allow him to make the motion to close the period of interpellation. So her anger should not be directed to me, because we work on a committee system. When she was head of several committees, and she's head of several committees. I've helped her pass measures really very quickly, Mr. President. So she should be fair.
Mr. President,
And it's
I
already
hope you
controversial, and I have the floor, Mr.
Can
President.
we have?
Yes,
can we
sorry.
I have the floor.
To finish
I
first.
forgot also, I'm sorry for that.
Very controversial measures that our lady senator from Taguig has passed and filed, but we have supported her. We have supported her fully. So much so that I had even loggered heads with some of my colleagues, Mr. President. For example, that was the incentives, the rationalization of fiscal incentive,
Create.
the create law. My God, I fought with my own ninong on this issue just to support her. So, when it comes to the request of the chairman in fighting for particular issues, because they're the chair, and because I'm your majority floor leader, I side with the chairpersons on this particular issue. Here's a case where chairperson or the head of the subcommittee in charge of this, sponsoring the measure on the floor, requested me. That's why yesterday I messaged the good senator. I asked her, maybe close the period of interpellation. She said, no, because we're not finished yet with Ralph. So sabi ko, sige, please talk to Ralph.
And-
Remember?
And we did.
Yes, okay. So today I spoke to Senator Ralph also, and he requested that baka we can close the period of interpellation because they're already discussing amendments. So that is all that he was proposing. We did not make the motion yet on the floor. He just requested. I have not moved. I have not acted on the motion. So I do not know why the hell and brimstone is falling onto me today. Mr. President, have I made the motion? I have not made the motion. Have I acted on the motion of Senator Ralph? I have not acted on the motion of Senator Ralph. So I do not know why they are so passionate in this particular issue. We have not even made a motion to terminate the period of interpellation. When I say languishing, I just said it as a figure of speech because among all our bills, before we took a break, everything else has moved forward. Now, that was my request, Mr. President, that we move this thing forward as well. I understand where the lady senator is coming from. She's very passionate. Anything that has to do with tobacco, she's totally opposed. I agree. I understand. We are like that. I have issues that I'm that way myself, Mr. President. But you have never seen me, Mr. President, that if I just have to vote, I just say, let me just record my vote and I'll vote on every other issue that I feel I'm very strongly against. So yun lang po. So we're not railroading anything here. As a matter of fact, it's just a request of the chairperson, and I have not made an action on that motion yet. So I think the anger of the lady senator from Taguig is still out of place at this point in time, with due respect. With due respect. May we recognize the minority floor leader?
Senator Rilon, the minority leader, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Thank you, Mr. President. I take the floor not as a minority leader, but as a friend of everybody. This is how we operate in the Senate. We try to arrive at a consensus. I can understand the passion of Senator Cayetano and also the desire of Senator Recto to have this measure passed. I will not pass judgment on who is right or wrong. That is not my role. What I am suggesting to the two colleagues of ours is come down and maybe we can finish the interpellation when we come back after the budget on November 22. We can finish the interpellation at that point. There can be enough preparation between the two parties. And if we can finish the interpellation and start with the amendment on November 22, then that would settle the issue. Both the points of the good sponsor is well taken, as well as that of Senator Cayetano. But just to be on record, the calendaring of the bills is a function of the Rules Committee. And I submitted to that. I have requested the majority leader that as a courtesy to the minority, since they're just the three of us, maybe we can calendar. We do not call on the floor bills which are not in the calendar because we are not prepared. Indeed, I have not seen the calendar, but it turns out it is there. So maybe Senator Pia, as a friend, maybe we can put this on the floor on the 22nd of November and finish it at that time to the extent that we can push it. Let's push it, but I would suggest that as a compromise. We submit, Mr. President.
Actually, that following our procedures, that is left to the chairman, the President Pro Tem, Senator Ralph Recto. It's up to him if he wants to continue with the interpellation or he refuses to be interpellated anymore.
Yes.
Di ba?
Yes. Yes.
So we ask him what
Well,
his position
Yes.
is.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, let me say for the record, let me manifest that this is not my bill. I did file a bill, but there are many others in the chamber who filed the bill. One is the majority leader, the Senate President, among others. No, the House has passed this measure. It was my duty to hear this measure, and we have come out with a committee report. Now, we have discussed this bill thoroughly in the Senate. I'm not against the proposal of the minority leader that when we after we pass the budget, we can tackle this again for interpolations with the agreement that we will end the interpolations on that day and allow us to present our amendments, and the committee amendments again are based on the interpolations of all our colleagues. No, that is the procedure of this chamber, Mr. President. And at the appropriate time, questions can still be raised. That is the practice of this chamber when proposing amendments. You could have a debate on all the amendments, but at the appropriate time, we will have to vote on all these amendments. Either we agree with them or we disagree with them, or the entire bill for that matter. That is the procedure. So we are just following procedure here. It is in the order for today. It was in the order for yesterday. And we were also prepared to accept whatever interpolations yesterday, no? As the interpolator said earlier, there are mainly three issues here: jurisdiction, age, and flavors. No, and we do have proposed amendments on all these three items, and it would be good for the body to listen to these amendments at the appropriate time. So that's it, Mr. President. I am not against the recommendation of the minority leader. My understanding is that the minority leader has suggested, okay, we take this up after the budget, but on that day we can finish the interpolation so that we can propose the amendments on the floor based on the interpolations of our colleagues.
Yeah, I confirm, Mr. President. I confirm the suggestion that I made, as you know, as again repeated by Senator Recto, for the sake of harmony among our colleagues.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Mr. President.
I would enjoy as a minority leader seeing my colleagues in the majority fighting each other. That's
I think it's a healthy debate. It's not a fight.
Mr. President.
Mr.
All right.
President, I just wanted to put that in record too, that we are not fighting. In fact, I am in conversation with the
I take it back. I take it
gentle lady from Taguig. We're looking for a compromise, and that is the work of legislation. That is part of legislation. No? I cannot get my way. None of us can get our way all the time, no? And the others will not get their way. And that is the importance of compromise, Mr. President. And we are amenable to compromise, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a correction since we're talking about fighting, if I may. The majority floor
Gordon, go ahead.
the majority floor leader said he even fought with his own ninong. I don't remember him fighting with me, Mr. President. I'm going to chastise this inaanak of mine because I never fight with anybody here. I'm just passionate like Pia. And it's, everybody has the right to be passionate. Passion is good, but not lust. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, so
Ay.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Senator Cayetano, go ahead.
I'd like to thank the gentleman who intervened, the minority floor leader who, as he said, spoke as a colleague and as a friend. Thank you for your insight, sir. And I'd also like to thank not my ninong, but my tito, Dick Gordon. Thank you also, sir, for your input. And I would like to confirm that the statement of the sponsor that we have been in communication. And he knows that when he calls me, I always say, oh, Ralph, I'm always so happy to call you kasi maayos kami mag-usap. I'm delighted when he calls me. And he reminded me, I got a text about an hour ago, Pia, I've submitted the proposal. And I said, Ralph, balikan kita after my sponsorship speech, right? I messaged you. Everybody else in my cell phone, hindi ko sinasagot kasi nga, I want to deliver a good sponsorship speech. But out of courtesy, nung nakita ko, I messaged you that I'll respond right away. And dagdagan ko na ngayon. Not only have I read it, I also have a counter proposal. So it's moving forward. And I know His Honor will confirm that working with me, walang bolahan. If sinabi natin na we'll get it done, we'll get it done.
That's correct.
So-
And same here.
I'm glad that my colleagues are laughing already, no, because it lightens the mood. But allow me to just continue and clear the air. Migs, alam mo namang mahal kita. Walang problema doon, but I have to admit that I was offended. I was offended not because you're not supporting me, because you have always shown support. And you know, I always respect your position as majority floor leader. But I did take offense, and I was emotional. And it was not anger, but it was tampo. I tried to look up the English translation. I do not know the English translation. My emotions, and I think you would prefer me this way than being a deadbeat, walang emotions. May iyak kayo pag nakita niyo akong ganon. My emotions are genuine. Nagtampo ako na hindi ko alam, and I admitted, kasalanan ko pala. Kasi I genuinely walked in, and you can ask the gentleman on the right. Sabi ko, ano to? Kasi akala ko sponsorship speech na. So nagulat ako, my fault, because hindi ko nabasa agenda. Hindi ko question kung ba't nasa agenda yon kasi I know your style, Your Honor. Nilalagay mo sa agenda yung kailangan nating tapusin. Alam ko yun. Nagulat lang ako na tinawag. And then lalo akong nagulat na may insinuations na I'm delaying. I will always clear my name when it comes to those things. There are things you can call me. I'm a fitness junkie. Call me that. But if you call me delaying, languishing performance with me, point out ko lang po. The bills that passed prior to the break are priority bills. DOFEL and PSA. So tama lang naman na mauna yun. And again, for the record, I was ready on the last day that we adjourned session. Ready naman ako. Diba? So, huwag niyo naman sabihing misplace ang anger ko kasi number one, hindi anger yon. Genuine tampo yon. Na you would think that I would try to delay this or that you would choose to put on record that a bill is languishing with me. That has never happened in my 14 years in the Senate na may bill na naglanguish sa akin na wala akong maayos na explanation. So sana tanggapin niyo din, sir, na masakit sa akin na kayo, na hinahangaan ko, sabihan niyo ako ng ganun. Na ang daming ibang pwedeng sabihan ng ganun, pero ako yung naisip niyong sabihan ng ganun. And it's not as if I'm ignoring your texts. It's not as if I'm ignoring the sponsor. No, I'm communicating and moving this forward. And like I said, never question your rules. Sabi ko nga, I submit. Kung ang decision nyo is wag nyo na akong pasalitain, I submit. But of course, I love the proposal of the minority floor leader na ituloy ito at a later date because that will give us time. And hopefully, at the rate the sponsor and I are going, sabi ko nga sa kanya, if anyone can solve this, it's the two of us. Because with his experience and with my passion, kami na lang talagang makagawa nito. Of course, we welcome the interventions of our colleagues. So hopeful ako. Kaya nasaktan ako. Tao lang ako. Nasaktan ako na you treated me that way. I got that feeling that I was being treated. Then I've always been a team player. As a team player, and the good Senate President is a team player. I mean, in the true sense of the word, as a sportsman. Team player ka, tapos maakusan ka na ikaw ang hindi nagto-toe the line. Nakaka-insulto po yun. At nasaktan po ako.
Yun ang katotohanan natin.
Okay.
President.
Only
Just a-
only because you're being nice to each other, I will not call you. I call you out. I will allow it today. You're talking to each other. Next time, I will not allow.
Yeah.
You have to talk to me.
Apologize for that, Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Because I wanted my explanation to be direct, but I apologize. The correct
It's all right.
well, and I am also a stickler for protocol, so I'm glad that you called it out,
Yeah.
Mr. President. Let me do the right thing. Mr. President, kindly relay to the majority floor leader that I have always trusted him and seen his support for me. And I simply was, and again, I don't have the English word, nagtampo lang po ako na may mga nagbitawan siyang salita na para naman ho, ako ang nagde-delay. Yun lang naman po ang message ko sa minamahal kong majority floor leader. Sana
Alright.
maintindihan niya din ang kalagayan ko dahil never po ako nagde-delay.
Understood. We place it on record.
Mr.
Majority
President,
leader,
just
what
a
is your
quick-
pleasure
just a
now?
quick reaction. I don't want to take this any further. I don't want to escalate. I want to de-escalate tensions in the hall. But for the records will bear me out that I got the request from Senator Recto that he would like to close the period of interpellation. I did not act on it yet because I saw Senator Pia coming in. I'm sure she would have wanted to react. When she came into the floor, she reacted very angrily, with due respect. And she said na bakit ko inuuna ito kaysa sponsorship ng budget. Parang in-insinuate na bakit ko fina-fast track ito. But Mr. President, with due respect to my dear colleague from Taguig, as I said earlier, we follow the schedule of our daily agenda. And it was ahead of the schedule of Senator Angara. Tinatapos, if you notice, I finish it from beginning to end. If you notice, every day I do that. I did Resolution 826, I finished with 838, I finished the two resolutions, including the third one that was authored by yours truly, by the Senate President. We did the amendments of the DOFIL. I called for it, but Senator Villanueva is not yet ready. I followed the chain of our agenda, the chain of events of our agenda. We finished the citizenship of Elizabeth Lizzie Zobel de Ayala. And next on the line, and the only issue, before the budget, is this measure. So, I took offense also na parang hindi ko sinusunod yung agenda, bakit ganun? But mas malaga pa yung isa kaysa sa isa. So that was my reaction. Out of anger, I basically had said what I had said. And I may regret saying that because I didn't want to anger the lady senator, but for the record, and the records will bear me out, it was the lady senator from Taguig who was very angry and was getting mad at me why I was doing such a thing, which under our rules is proper. And let me just read for the record, Mr. President, lest we not be pointed out by others. Under Section 25, Considerations of Debates and on Bills, Section 17, letter D, sponsorship of the bill and author of the motion shall have the right to close the period of debate. So, si Chairman, the sponsor, which is Senator Recto, had the right to close the period of debate. But we are a collegial body. So, tama si Senator Drilon, napakiusapan na lang na sa 22 na lang tayo magbukasan at magsira ng period of debate. Walang problema sa akin yan, Mr. President. I'm just doing your job as the chief traffic enforcer of our committee chairpersons because I do the same for, I actually gave that advice also to Senator Pia Cayetano one time, and I mentioned to her during the create debates and the other measures, you can close the period of debate, don't worry, and I will back you up. If they're makulit, sabi mo, I no longer want to debate and close the period of interpellation. So as chairperson of the rules and as your traffic enforcer, I will always side with the sponsor of these particular measures on the floor.
I
My
think it was-
apologies if she felt
Yeah.
na ano siya, nagtampo siya, Mr. President. But you have to look at where I'm coming from kasi siya una po ang bumanat sa akin. Nag-react lang po ako.
I think it was clear, the explanation of Senator Cayetano. As she walked in, she thought that it was going to be the budget it would be called. So she was surprised that she didn't know that there was one item to be called before the budget. I think she explained it already.
Yes.
All right?
So with that,
So let's, dispose
I guess we
the-
can
the
dispose
matter.
with this issue.
Mm.
Okay, Mr. President, I guess there's no objection from Senator Recto. May we recognize Senator Drilon?
Minority Leader? Yeah?
Just for the record, yes, we have that rule that the sponsor has the right to close the debate. But also a time-honored tradition in the Senate is the non-invocation of the rule of order. So, just for that, but of course, we always abide by the decision of the majority, but never in the Senate has the rule on closure been invoked to close the debate. That's all. And as I said,
Okay.
suggestion to
Yes,
have
Mr. President.
we will finish the interpellation when we come back on the 22nd, presumably after the budget debates are over. I have that submission, Mr. President, and I rest.
Okay, Senator
President.
Recto, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, it is not my desire to close the period of interpolations, no? I only made the suggestion that to close the period of interpolation because I am in talks with Senator Pia with regard to possible amendments. So I was thinking that maybe there would be no objections if we close the period of interpolation. But I think the records will bear me out. I have never, as mentioned by the minority leader, that in the Senate, we have never closed the period of interpolations because of a sponsor requesting it. Okay? And I have never done the same, Mr. President. Okay? We only suggested na if we could move on to the period of amendments because, like I said, we are in communication with the senator from Taguig with regard to possible amendments. So thank you for that, Mr. President.
Okay.
Mr. President, sorry, but may I just add quickly? And siguro, just to explain my sentiments, dear colleagues, nakita nyo naman yung patience ko sa mga bills na dinefend ko from syntax to create. Diba? Pwede nyo na ako sabitan ng medalya for my patience naman. So siguro maintindihan nyo din na na-offend din naman ako na parang once pa lang ako nag-interpellate tapos sasabihin nyo tama na. And it's my bill that's being amended. So I'm just explaining kung saan ang pinanggagalingan ng gulat ko. Plus the fact na, dear Majority Floor Leader, sanay din naman ako na hine-heads up mo ko. So medyo nagulat lang talaga ako. And for the record din, maybe my mistake, but my understanding that in the afternoon, the bill will be sponsored and I was studying in the corner, listening pa rin to what was going on. Kala ko na-sponsor na at na-take up na po, Mr. President, lahat nung iti-take up. Kaya yun nga, as you correctly observed, nagulat lang talaga ako na nandun. So I apologize also with the way that I manifested my frustration and my tampo. But I cannot change that yun talaga yung feeling ko because I have showed and also His Honor, the Majority Floor Leader can attest that I have also been very patient when I was sponsoring and waiting for other people. So medyo nakakagulat lang na I'm not accorded the same leniency. Since I've only interpolated one time, Mr. President, uulitin ko, once pa lang naman ako nag-interpolate, hindi naman 10 beses. And I was ready on the last day of session. So para naman din masabihan na ako yung nagdi-delay, nakasakit po sa akin yun.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. President, let's move
So,
forward.
motion.
Let's move on. So I move, Mr. President, would be, did I call for it? I didn't even call for it yet. Have I called
Suspend
for its
consideration.
consideration? If I did, then I move to suspend. If I didn't, then just let the records bear us out.
All right, we let it go at that.
Yes,
What
I don't think we
majority-
call, yes, maybe move to suspend consideration. Senate
All right.
Bill number 22.
Suspended.
Or